I'm going to tell you the secret to success overtly, clearly, and that is how you talk to yourself. There's this old saying, be careful how you talk to yourself because you are listening. And it is very, very true. We know that your mood and performance can be impacted by surrounding yourself around people who talk to or about you negatively. But did you also know that that also includes you? Like, you have to talk to yourself in a way that is conducive and congruent to you loving you. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that. Like, a lot of us, we don't talk to ourselves in a loving, glowing way. We are highly self-critical and we're highly self-insulting. We're not always as kind to ourselves as we could and or should be. But what if we reversed that? What if we got into the habit of like talking to ourselves in loving, kind, and endearing ways? What would happen? What would happen to our performance? What would happen to our mental health? What would happen to our levels of joy, peace, happiness, love, all of those things? Well, that's what I want to talk about here today. So welcome back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. I'm going to tell you a super personal story. Growing up, I've said this several times, my childhood was not great, and my dad would say really critical things, and I just believed them. So I adopted my dad's talk of me into my self-talk. So, for example, when I went to school and I failed a test, I didn't think, oh, I'll get them next time, or man, I tried my best and at least I got this many right. I didn't think any of those kind, forgiving things. I thought, you're so stupid. You're not smart. You're not bright. Like, those were literally the thoughts that I had. And I learned through that process that those thoughts were killing me, literally killing me. Like, the worse my depression got, my anxiety got, the more I realized, like, my own thoughts are becoming my own tormentor. Even when my father wasn't around, like, it was like my own thoughts, though I think they were largely influenced and programmed by him, they were causing me torture. They were causing me torment. They were causing me pain. They were causing me struggle. And I had to overcome that. And I learned how to talk to myself in a different way and how to like build myself up. You know, when you do something badly and you say, oh, I'm so stupid. I learned that when I do something great, I can say, oh, I'm so great. But let me tell you how weird that is. There was a person who was close to me. We're not very close anymore. And she, whenever I would say that, like I would do something, I'd be like, man, I'm the greatest. She didn't realize that like that was me just talking to myself in an encouraging, pep talking, in like inspiring way. And I learned to do that from my childhood. She took it as me bragging and me saying I was better than other people. And to be honest with you, it had absolutely nothing to do with other people. It had everything to do with the way that I needed myself to view myself. And as a result of that, like, she would get mad at me. So much so that it played a massive role in my decision not to want to interact with her anymore, because she just thought, you're just being arrogant. You're just showing off. When you say you're the best, you're putting people down. And to be honest with you, I wasn't saying I'm better than other people. And to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about other people. I was like, I'm the greatest. It's my way of saying there are good qualities in you, and you are worthwhile, and you are meaningful, and you are valuable, and you are inherently good. All of the things that you say to someone that you love. And to be very honest with you, like, the abuse I experienced at the hands of my father, it stole my ability to love myself. It robbed me of who I was wanting to be. It robbed me of the love that should have been bestowed upon me by my parental figure, because that's how you learn to love yourself. Like, if they love me, if they see good in me, then maybe I'm worthwhile and I see good in myself, and I didn't have that. So I had to learn how to do it. And did I learn how to do it in an odd way? Sure. Did I learn how to do it in a way that was the way most people do it? No. But I learned how to do it. And I think self-talk is that important, because it really reflects on how you view yourself, and how you view yourself will determine the way you experience life. So my encouragement here is to be very, very careful how you talk to yourself, and be sure you talk to yourself in a way that is congruent to someone who loves you. I want to talk about the difference between negative self-talk and positive self-talk. I think that we all kind of know the difference, but I don't want to take that for granted. And from a psychological psychotherapist perspective, I want to kind of talk about the two things. I think a lot of us don't really understand it, and we have too much negative self-talk, not enough positive self-talk. We end up in situations that aren't as conducive to our success. We end up in situations that don't lead to us thriving and being at our very best too often. And we don't always realize that literally if you just change the way you talk to yourself, it will change everything. If you just change the way you talk to yourself, like your mind is an incredibly powerful tool. And when you utilize that tool effectively, you are capable of so much more than you could ever dream. You are capable of so much more than you could ever imagine. But you've got to be willing to activate it, if you will. I think the biggest thing as it relates to negative self-talk, we'll start there, is a lot of people like diminish their greatness or the verbalization of their greatness because they think it's more in line with being humble. So a lot of people think I'm being more humble if I talk badly about myself, but that's actually not true. Humble is the ability to acknowledge that A, you're not better than anybody else, and B, you might be a really well-trained mechanic, but that doesn't mean you're a great pilot, right? It's just like the opposite of humble is someone who doesn't know anything about cars walking around the car kicking the tires and saying, oh, I know what this car is broken down. You know what, you don't know anything, but you get to own your greatness. And I don't think we should ever pretend or ever confuse, that's probably a better word, confuse being humble with being negative, because being negative has very negative consequences. It will literally reduce your performance. It will literally pull you down. And we often do that for the purposes of like making other people feel better. And I'm here to say, like, do not do that. Like, go all in on your greatness. And if it makes other people uncomfortable, so be it. I think the person that I've ever seen that is the best at positive self-talk, and positive self-talk doesn't mean like I compliment myself or I think sometimes positive self-talk is just self-talk that acknowledges your capability and increases your performance. And there's a guy who I think is the best positive self-talker I've ever seen. He's an internet influencer. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's an Army Ranger. He is an extreme marathoner. He's an author, and his name is David Goggins. Now, David Goggins, if you look him up, I'm warning you, he curses a lot, and I mean a lot.
Fucking ass, fucking shit.
He's the best at it. And there was an example of he runs ultra marathons, which are 100-mile races, and he runs them like in a day. Like he's crazy. And he will talk to himself. You don't feel pain. No one can stop you. You're the baddest MFer to ever live. Like he will say those things as he's doing these extreme physical feats. And this guy was interviewing him, and he asked him, do you really think you're the toughest, baddest, so-and-so and this and that? And he said, man, that doesn't matter.
Who on this fucking earth would still be going right now? You are. You are. You gotta be the hardest motherfucker on the planet. Is it true? I don't give a fuck.
He said, in that moment, I need to believe it so that I can take another step. In that moment, I need to believe it so I can keep running. In that moment, I need to believe it so I can get over that next hill as I'm running these 100-mile marathons. So that's what I would say is the point of self-talk, is it like pushes you through the next obstacle. Does David Goggins really think he's the toughest man to ever live? It's completely irrelevant. I just need to believe it in this moment so that I can do the next really hard task. So as a therapist, if I'm about to go into a therapy session, which I know is going to be challenging, and I go to myself, I'm the greatest therapist that ever lived. Do I really believe that? That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. I just need to believe it right now so I can perform the task of helping this family deal with something challenging. Or maybe I'm about to take a stage in front of thousands of people to give a lecture, and before I do, I'm like, man, I'm the greatest lecturer to ever live. Do I believe that to be factually true? That is irrelevant. It's just something I'm saying to myself to be able to overcome the task and the fear and the anxieties associated with taking this stage. That is the lesson, and that's the difference between positive self-talk and negative self-talk. And I want you to go off and practice using positive self-talk. When I was growing up, Saturday Night Live was one of the biggest shows on television. It's still super duper popular, but there was no social media back then. There was nothing to do really. And so Saturday night at like 9 p.m., I think, on the East Coast where I grew up, Saturday Night Live was huge. And there was a skit. And I remember going to school the day after the skit happened. And it was crazy because Michael Jordan was the host of Saturday Night Live. And at that time, Michael Jordan was the most popular man on the planet, without question. It was crazy. And there was a skit where he was working with this guy named, I think it was Edward Smiley.
All I have to do is be the best Michael I can be.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
This words of affirmation thing that's associated with like positive self-talk. And to watch Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, the most confident man ever, all the things, saying a positive affirmation in the mirror, it was just like hilarious, right? It was a very funny skit. Went viral before going viral was a thing. We all talked about it in school, big deal. But here's the problem. Those things don't work. Lots of therapists ask people, someone very close to me just told me that they've had therapists many times tell them to like look in the mirror and say these powerful words of affirmation, but truth is, they don't work. They make no bit of difference. And they don't make a difference for two reasons. Number one, if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter. And number two, when most people are feeling down and feeling frustrated, they're in a moment in their life when they really need the positive affirmation, they don't remember to do it. Because it's not impactful. So I really want to convince you, like this whole idea that like looking in the mirror and telling yourself that you're handsome, telling yourself that you're smart, telling yourself that you're great, it doesn't do anything. Like it doesn't really move the needle of psychology. It doesn't move your emotional well-being. It doesn't do any of that stuff. All it does is get you stand in front of the mirror talking to yourself. But what do you do instead? I'm going to tell you what to do. You know, this week we're talking all about self-talk and the power of self-talk. And we're really talking about like how to treat yourself and how to examine yourself and how to put yourself in a state of mind where you are at your very, very best. And the way you need to do that is you've got to examine your past history for something positive and then find evidence that that positive thing is true. So, for example, I can sit here and say, I'm really smart. And at the point I might say that, like if I'm not feeling super smart, I'm not feeling super great about myself, at the point at which I say that, I might not believe that it's true. But then I've got to look for evidence in my history that it is true. Okay, wait a minute. I got an A in that class. I got a B in that class. I got an A in that class. And that class was really hard, but I studied and I figured it out. Like, so the more evidence you compile to support the idea that you are trying to believe in, then the more your brain accepts it as reality. So it's not about just looking in the mirror and saying, you know, I'm smart enough, I'm good enough, gosh dang it, people like me, as that Michael Jordan skit all those years ago. It's much more about, so what's the thing that I want to be thinking? I want to be thinking that I'm smart enough and I'm good enough. Okay, so find the evidence that it's true. My whole life changed when I found the evidence that I was strong. I felt weak my entire life because so much of my life I felt controlled by my father. I felt controlled by the person that was raising me. And when I broke out of that, I just felt like I was weak for like giving into that environment and giving into that scenario until one day I realized the fact that I survived it is the evidence of my strength. And when I realized not only did I survive it and got myself into college while surviving it. I don't have a drug issue. I don't have a drinking issue. I was like, wow, I kind of survived it in pretty good shape to go from here throughout the rest of my life. And all of a sudden, there was evidence of my strength. And I was 19 years old when I was having those thoughts. And so if you want to have positive self-talk, don't stand in the mirror and try to convince yourself of something that you yourself don't even believe are true. Think of an idea that you want to be true, and then look in your history for evidence that that thing is actually true. Look in your history for evidence that supports the thing that you want to be true. I promise you will find it. And the more evidence you compile, the more your brain will accept that it is true. Like a lot of people, I haven't always been good at this. My life can literally be divided into half. Pre and post being 19. My 19-year-old year was the year that changed everything for me. 19 is when I don't want to say I got it, but I just had some significant life realizations at 19 that completely changed the way I thought about myself, the way I thought about the world, the way I thought about my capabilities, impacted what I dreamed I could become, what I dreamt I could accomplish. 19 years old very much changed everything. And it was also the year I started to talk to myself differently. And prior to that, I had very, very negative self-talk. And I would beat myself up about it. I felt badly about myself. And I want to be clear, I'm not arrogant to the point where it's I think I'm the greatest person ever, blah, blah, blah. But post-19, I felt worthy. Post-19, I had a more positive self-image. Post-19, my self-esteem was stronger and more intact. And that was a much better way to live my life. And I want to talk about those two examples. So first, let's talk about who I was before 19. And I'm gonna give you a story that I think highlights what I mean by negative self-talk and what that leads to. When I was in middle school, and I've talked about this before, I had a huge crush on a girl named Donna. Donna was my first girlfriend. I was in the 7th grade. My first meaningful girlfriend, this was the crush that became like a girlfriend. We went to the dances together. We stayed up on the phone all night talking together. And then we dated in the 8th grade, and then she broke up with me. And I remember being crushed that she broke up with me, but I also remember being she found somebody better, and I'm not good enough, and just kind of accepting those realities. Because when you believe negatively about yourself, when negative experiences happen, they just validate, or they're just congruent to the negative thoughts you already have about yourself. So I spent my high school years with a crush on Donna. I just never pursued it because I just didn't think I was worthy of Donna. I don't know. It's a hard thing to express. But when I was 19, I had these realizations. I realized I am worthy. I've talked about it before, so I won't go into it. But I realized I want to live my life from a place of confidence and strength. And in that time, it's all right, if I would pursue a goal, if I didn't achieve the goal, it's all right, I'm going to try again tomorrow. And if I asked a girl on a date, because that's the comparison, right? This is how I dated when I was, younger. And then when I was post-19, it's if I ask a girl on a date, she says no. It wasn't because I'm not good enough. I was too short. I was too whatever. It was because it just didn't work. She didn't want to. And that's okay. It doesn't have to mean anything negative about me. It just means I'm not her type. But there's somebody out there for whom I am their type. And I'm okay with that. Having that level of thought, it ignited an ability in me to love myself and to treat myself as if I loved myself. It ignited an ability in me to be a better version of me. I often think, what would it be like if I could redo the early part of my year with healthier self-esteem and feeling better about myself and believing that I could achieve goals and believing myself to the point where I would achieve a notable and positive outcome. I'll never know. But I will say, I'm glad. As much as I wish I'd figured this all out earlier in my life, I'm glad that I figured it out at all. Some people live their whole lives and never really have that realization. I'm grateful that I did. So those are two examples of negative and positive self-image and the way they can impact you. And I want to encourage you to have your moment now if you haven't already. Realize you are worthy. If something doesn't work out for you, it just means keep trying. If something doesn't work out for you, it just means it wasn't the right fit at that time and moment. It doesn't mean there's something negative about you. It doesn't have to validate some negative opinion you have of yourself. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about how we learn to talk to ourselves in the way that we do. Good, bad, in between. The biggest influence on how we learn to talk to ourselves are the people around us. The first major influence is your family. your siblings, predominantly your parents, the way they treat you will inform how you talk to yourself. If you grow up in an environment where you're constantly being bullied, made fun of, abused, neglected, the way that you talk to yourself will be very negative. You're going to wonder, why is this happening to me? There's a part of you that's going to think there's something about you that you deserve this. Like you're doing something to bring this about. Your parents are mean and you think maybe I'm just not a great kid. Like when I was growing up in the environment I was in, there was much more criticism and punishment than there was praise. My dad had the attitude that like you shouldn't get rewarded for things that you should be doing, but you should get punished for things that you shouldn't. So like I remember one day I got some really good grades. I was in the 3rd grade and I was so excited to come home and show my father this report card because it was filled with really good grades. I gave him the report card. He looked at it and they were really good grades and he didn't really have a response. And my mother said, shouldn't we give him a reward? Like I was standing right there. And my father said, why? He's supposed to get those kind of grades. But yet, when I gave him report cards that weren't good, or when I didn't do my chores, or when I didn't follow the rules, the punishments were heavy. And so I grew up thinking of myself as flawed because my flaws were highlighted much more significantly than my talent was. So I want to talk about like when you grow up in an environment where you have more negative self-talk than you do positive self-talk, how do you rewire that? And there's really 2 things, right? If you want to rewire the way that you talk to yourself, if you want to change the language you use with yourself, there's really 2 main ways to do that. The first one is with practice. Have a mantra. Have something that you like repeatedly say to yourself about yourself constantly. And I'm going to say 2 things, and I'm not saying pick one or the other. You can do both. But the repeated motion of like giving your brain powerful, positive messages about you will absolutely, most definitely make a difference in the way that you talk to and about yourself. So like just repeatedly saying, I believe that I'm worthy. I believe that I'm good. I believe that I'm worthy. Like really feeding your brain powerful and positive messages will make a big and massive difference in the way that you experience you. And it's just like any other exercise. Like if you said, how do I run a marathon? I would say go practice running. If you told me, how do I become a better artist? Go practice drawing. So if you want to be better in the way that you treat yourself with repetition, talk to yourself in a different way. Again, write a script of the things about you that you want to be true and read that script 4 times a day. Like something like that will make a massive difference in the way that you talk to and about yourself. The second way is similar to the way we grew up. It's by the people you have around you. If the people you have around you build you up and make you feel good about you and who you are and the way you go about things and the difference you make in people's lives and that sort of thing, then you are very, very likely to start talking to yourself in a way that's congruent to the people around you. So when you have people around you that believe in you and think you're great, and they tell you that, they like give you that clear message. When you have people that pump you up and that praise you and talk highly of you and speak up to you, you are significantly more likely to feel a different way about yourself and talk to yourself in a way that's congruent to the way that the people around you talk to. Like the people you have around you are hugely important to the way that you experience yourself, the way you talk to yourself, and quite frankly, your mental health. So make sure you are surrounded by people who talk to you in a way that aligns with how you want to talk to you, because you will definitely be influenced by the people around you and how they talk to you. So just make sure that you do a wonderful job of talking to yourself. And if you need to practice like a mantra or a script or something you will read every day, and surround yourself with people who talk to you in a way that you are very, very pleased with. Thanks for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, I would love it if you would share this podcast with at least one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And also don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And also follow me on all of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search for my name, Elliott Connie, or at Elliott Speaks. That's my handle across all platforms. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.